So you're level 60 and you're struggling to make the endgame build for your Spiritborn because you don't have the uniques required for it. Well, today I'm bringing you the best Spiritborn mid-game build that will take you from Torment 1 all the way to Torment 3 or 4 without requiring a single unique. Yes, if your luck is bad like mine and you don't have the Midnight Sun or Rod of Kepeleke, this is the best build for you. So there are two major problems to solve if you don't have those two uniques. One, how do we scale Quill Volley's damage? And number two, how do we generate vigor so you can just hold down Quill Volley against packs of elites without using your basic skill? So in terms of damage, the biggest boost in this build is through the aspect of redirected force, which gives us a massive increase to critical strike damage based on our block chance. Thanks to the skill Armored Hide, we can gain 100% block chance whenever we use it to maximize our critical strike damage. So how do we keep spamming Armored Hide to take advantage of this? It's actually through our ultimate and ultimate passives. With Intricacy, every time we use our ultimate, we can use Armored Hide for free 3 times for 5 seconds. The best ultimate to use is the Hunter, because with Exalted Hunter, we often just instantly reset the ultimate cooldown, which means we can proc Intricacy more often and get free costs of Armored Hide. This also means we proc our passives Resolution and Supremacy more often, which massively boost our DPS output. The Hunter is amazing for scaling Quill Volley's damage in general because thanks to Harmonious Hunter, we gain more attack speed through ferocity and more damage to injured enemies. The Hunter also allows us to take Jaguar passives such as Potent and Furnace to scale Quill Volley's damage even more. So the key thing when you're running this build is to make sure you use Armored Hide just before you use the Hunter. This means we can then carry on spamming Armored Hide while you're using Quill Volley, and in no time you'll probably reset your Hunter cooldown and then you can move on to the next pack of enemies. The other way we scale our damage is through the aspect of Unyielding Hits, which boosts our damage based on the amount of armor we have. With this aspect, you'll want to go above the armor cap because it continues to provide a benefit until a cap of around 4,000 to 4,500 armor depending on where you place this aspect. So you'll notice a ton of my gear has percentage total armor as a roll. This isn't a bad thing defensively either because the armor penalties become more and more severe as you go from Torment 1 to 4. The Scourge skill also scales our damage tremendously because it allows us to deal up to 50% more damage multiplicatively against crowd controlled enemies. Scourge also helps with vigor generation, and again, the more we can spam it, the more vigor we can generate. Now whilst leveling, most builds use the key passive Vital Strikes to overcome vigor issues, but to really do big damage we want to ditch this and use Prodigy's Tempo, because this reduces our cooldown significantly when we spam Quill Volley. This means we can use our Hunter ultimate, our Scourge ability, and our Armored Hide ability more often. So if we want to use Prodigy's Tempo, we need good vigor generation in the build. Against packs of enemies, the best way to solve vigor issues when you don't have the Midnight Sun unique ring is through re-rolling some of your gear to have the affix Vigor on kill. You can put this on your two-handed weapon and both of your rings so that kills generate tons of vigor. Then thanks to Measured Ravager and Vigorous passives, we can increase our vigor generation even further. You can also temper your rings and amulet for resource generation as well to really boost those vigor gains. We even utilize the glyph Fitness, which grants us vigor every time we crit with a skill. Now you'll notice on my toolbar I still have one basic attack, and that's for bosses only. Because there aren't enough enemies in a boss encounter to trigger Vigor on kill, we need to throw in a few basic attacks here or there. The best basic attack to use for the build is Rock Splitter, because this boosts our block chance by 15%, and whenever we block we gain Vigor on top, which synergizes with this build perfectly. But honestly, even bosses get annihilated by this build as well. You won't notice the few basic attacks. So let's go over the gear I'm using, and if there's any piece of gear that isn't optimized in my setup, I'll show you on the build planner what is the ideal piece to chase. For my helmet, I have the aspect of Might, which gives us damage reduction when we're using a basic skill. Aim for dexterity, total armor, and cooldown reduction. Temper for total armor and vortex size. On my chest piece, I run the Juggernaut aspect for more armor. Then you want to chase dexterity, maximum life, and armor. Temper for total armor, or if you're low on a resistance, then that specific resistance you can temper instead. And aim for vortex size again. For your gloves, you want the conceited aspect. In this build, thanks to the Gorilla Spirit and our runes, which give us the Bulwark Druid skill, we have a ton of barriers, so we use them to scale our damage significantly. One method is the conceited aspect. My gloves roll on ideal, instead you want ranks to Quill Volley, critical strike chance, and dexterity. temper for critical strike damage, and vortex size. For your pants, you want the aspect of disobedience, which will scale our armor up even more, which means we benefit more from the aspect of unyielding hits. Aim for dexterity, maximum life, and instead of thorns here, you actually want resistance to all elements. Temper for total armor and vortex size. For your boots, aim for dexterity, armor, and movement speed. Temper for movement speed and vortex size. You want to have the aspect of haste here to really boost movement speed. For your amulet, this is where we place the aspect of your unyielding hits for that 50% bonus. Aim for total armor, movement speed, and then instead of the maximum life I've got, you want percentage dexterity instead. Temper for total armor and resource generation. For your rings, this is where we have the rebounding aspect, which is essential for the build, and the retribution aspect for more damage against knockdown enemies. Aim for dexterity, vigor on kill, and critical strike chance. Temper for critical strike damage. And then for your second temper, you can either go for the hunter cooldown reduction, or you can go for resource generation. For your weapon, I'm using a glaive, but you actually want to be using a quarterstaff instead, for the implicit block chance that it has. Aim for dexterity, vigor on kill, and maximum life. Temper for chanced for Quill Volley to cast twice, and then temper for critical strike damage on top. In terms of runes, you want the Pock rune with the Cry rune, so we constantly use Vortex whenever we use Quill Volley enough, which sucks in enemies close to you, so you can just spam Quill Volley without worrying about aiming against faraway enemies. This is also the reason why we're tempering vortex size on our armor, so we can suck in enemies from far away. Then you want the Tam rune with the Q rune, so we can generate bulwark barriers. The Tam rune is a relatively rare drop, so you can substitute it with the Monai rune like I've done here. For your armor, you want emeralds for dexterity, and then you want diamonds for your jewelry, not skulls, because you want to cap your resistances. We then run the Gorilla Spirit and Jaguar Spirit. Our main mercenary is Rahir because we gain 15% armor from him, and we gain a bonus 15% multiplicative damage against enemies taunted by him. Our reinforcement mercenary is Variana because we can get a nice 10% attack speed bonus from Bloodthirst. In terms of Paragon, I've focused on getting all 5 main boards unlocked quickly by around 200 Paragon. By this point, hopefully you've had decent luck and gotten some of the uniques to transition to the true endgame build. Our first glyph is the Spirit glyph, which boosts critical strike damage. We then go up and get the Sapping legendary node, which helps with vigor generation and boosts damage multiplicatively. Here I place the Canny glyph so that we can boost our lightning damage which Quill Volley applies. Then we get the Revealing node, which boosts our damage against crowd controlled enemies and gives us a chance to knock down enemies. Here I place the Fitness glyph to boost vigor generation and get more critical strike damage. Then you want the Viscous Shield legendary node, which multiplicatively boosts our damage when we have a barrier up. At the time of recording this video, I didn't even have this node active, so you can see how much more potential this no unique build has. So moving to the planner and carrying on, here you want to place the Talon glyph to boost our Quill Volley damage. Finally, go down and get the Convergence node and place the Colossal glyph, which boosts our Gorilla damage. Remember, with the Gorilla Spirit, everything is a Gorilla skill, and it also increases our damage multiplicatively for each stack of Resolve we have. Remember, we nearly always have max stacks of Resolve thanks to Armored Hide instantly giving us maximum stacks whenever we activate it. With this setup, you won't need to change your Paragon board once you get those 2 uniques, so this is a perfect Paragon board when transitioning from the leveling guide to the mid game and then even to the end game. So there you have it, the Quill Volley no unique version that will take you to the higher levels of the pit and help you unlock Torment tiers 2, 3, and 4 whilst you're waiting for the right uniques to drop for the end game build. If you enjoyed what I talked about today, remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Diablo builds as we get deeper into Vessel of Hatred. I'm Mr. Ronit, and that's it for today. Peace out, guys.